All right, guys, in this clip, we are going to be exploring neck structure and how to break that neck structure. Now, anytime we start talking about affecting the neck, it is normal, natural, and healthy for people to reflexively say, whoa, wait a minute, isn't this extremely dangerous? Couldn't you seriously hurt someone's neck? The short answer is absolutely you could, and we need to proceed with absolute caution here. But what's important to understand is that all training can be seen as existing along a spectrum. At one end of that spectrum, we could have what we might term unthinking training, unknowing training, careless, reckless, ignorant, haphazard training. If we look, for example, at martial arts schools across the world, we could take something like an arterial choke that's meant to place pressure safely on the arteries to knock someone unconscious. And we can see schools teaching it without correct understanding of the biomechanics and the use of force, and as such, students are unknowingly putting pressure on the trachea, or kinking the cervical arch in such a way that they're endangering the vertebrae. Or we might even have students being taught by a teacher who's wrongly emphasizing the need for those things. So this is an example of misguided training. Along the spectrum, we have increments of understanding, increments of knowledge. It includes understanding the structure of the neck. It includes understanding the mobility capacities and the biomechanics of the neck. It includes understanding of responsible use of force and the appropriacy of your response. It includes technical manifestations, specific techniques. And then finally, at the far end of the spectrum, we have what we might term targeted training, goal-driven training. Now, if your goal is to break necks, by all means, the exact same biomechanical exploration is going to make you a better and more efficient neck breaker. I would say good luck to you in trying to find a large volume of training partners with whom you can acquire the thousands and thousands of repetitions necessary to achieve mastery. But what's important here is our goal is not to break the neck. It's quite the opposite. It's to learn how to safely break the structure and the resistance inherent in the neck without injuring the partner. And that's extremely important. There's a world of difference here. The only way we can know how to manipulate the neck is by understanding what the safe boundaries of mobility are. How far can I safely go? And when do I cross those frontiers and enter into injurious territory? True understanding, responsibility, and control can only come from knowledge and from exploration, never from the restriction of knowledge. So you got to keep that in mind in going forward. Moreover, I want you to really understand that the crispness and the speed of my actions are the byproduct of almost 4 decades of training, that they follow a profound warm-up and a sequence of movements that preceded this clip, that they're followed with restorative work, that these are interactions between myself and one of my senior-most students, both of whom we would trust each other profoundly, that this is not the kind of move I would do cold on somebody I've never met before. I would strongly encourage you to check out any of my work on mobility and health to get a deeper understanding of the spine and how to maximize its health and safely explore it. But just keep in mind ultimately that going forward in your own training, start slowly, stay slow for the longest period of time, gain confidence in knowing that you have the catch or the neutralization of the neck and that you don't need to necessarily manifest the affectation, the full rotation, the full movement. Please remember that you train with a partner and not an opponent. This is not the type of work that we do in full pressure testing scenarios. It's something that even in open sparring I might just catch and imply that I'm going to tweak it one direction and then let it go with a developed, fully cooked ego that knows that I don't need to hurt my partner just to prove my own capacity. So going forward, guys, keep it safe, keep it responsible, and look at this exploration for what it is, which is a growth of your understanding of neck mobility.
Today we're looking at how we can stir through all the planes as quickly as possible. Right? Quand on mélange les jointures, c'est une façon de changer des planes très vite, rapidement. Right? So I can switch from one to another. But oftentimes when I think of just stirring the joint, people just kind of mold the face. It's okay, mais c'est important aussi d'avoir une compréhension de chaque plane. Right? I should also isolate and understand how each plane moves. So up until now, just with that simple medial plane motion, we saw that if I encounter too much resistance, the easiest thing to do is just change planes. Alors on peut changer des planes n'importe quand. Anytime you have trouble, I can change planes. two other things that I can do is I can also, if I'm working on one plane and it's giving me trouble, I can simply change direction on the same plane. So let's say he's resisting this way as hard as possible. I'm trying to go there. I palm and I turn the opposite direction. And what happens is when I'm trying to turn it this way, all the muscles are pulling here. So if I now suddenly give him a space of order, he pulls through and I push the opposite direction. So I can switch planes completely, but I can also switch directions on the plane. I could be going back, je peux être là, puis maintenant il va résister, and then I can pull down on the plane. Or I can be pushing and I can turn my fulcrum and I change and I go in the opposite plane. Puis quand on change sur le même plan, on peut changer plus qu'une fois. If I change more than one time, for example, if I'm going here and then I go there and back, that's what we refer to as stripping the plane. And then you're fatiguing it, right? So very often, say I take there and down. I can have them down like this, push all my force to one side, and then just change to the other side here to punch down to cause traumatic neck damage. But if I'm fighting on one and it's not working, I can also shift it like that. And that causes me to still be able to go in the same direction if I want to, right? So I can change from one direction suddenly to the other, or I can change from one direction there and back. Usually you won't have more than enough to do twice. It's hard to just keep jiggling like that and move. So push and then suddenly switch, or push and then switch and go back. Just be careful, especially with the neck. Does that make sense? All right. Good morning, guys. We played on the medial plane. On a joué sur le plan médial. We started to get into the horizontal, right? On a vu que on peut changer. I can change from one plane to another if I have trouble. I can change on the same plane. Je peux changer sur le même. All right, so I could be trying to pull him down. He's resisting. It doesn't go. Whoop, I switch the opposite direction. Or at any point, I can ratchet it a few times like that. Like this, and start to weaken it. Now I just want to isolate the frontal plane. Alors le plan frontal, c'est ici. But that's the frontal plane. So we use that a little bit less. Let's say I'm working here. We know that we can hit and we can buckle, but we can also hit on the side as we're moving here. We can have our arms in a scissor, and we can move laterally like that to create frontal plane movement. We can work with our thumbs, work with our fists. On the clavicle, or sur le clavicule, on roule. So if I'm working here, people don't expect that motion. So I try to get the purest frontal plane possible. I can also get, for example, just his chin or his nose. I grip anything that I have, and I think of turning the face this way. And it's very hard to adapt. Il n'y a pas beaucoup de flexibilité ici, right? I can take his chin, think of making little circles like that on the frontal plane, or figure eights. And that starts to turn me into other planes. So I just want to start to think from side to side as if I wanted to bring his ear to his shoulder as much as I can. That's the plane I'm isolating. Si jamais ça marche pas, if it doesn't work, let's say I was in that position and that doesn't give me anything, then I can switch to my second plane, or I can switch back and work frontal at the end. Frontal plane has very little flexibility. So just be careful. Faire attention. Tu peux bouger juste un peu.